Welcome back to Monday Night Football. This has caused great excitement in the office today. It's one of those debates that we are constantly having amongst ourselves in the Monday Night Football team. Who's the greatest ever Premier League forward? And we thought with Thierry being with us this evening, we'd use that as an excuse to have this conversation on air. You've seen those well-scripted, well-rehearsed award shows in the past. This is nothing like that, so bear with us. So we have set ourselves this little challenge, and first thing we had to do was build a shortlist and set ourselves a criteria of what we're actually talking about. What constitutes a Premier League forward? Well, here is it's a long shortlist, but first of all, Jamie, what we should say is, you know, not everyone has managed to fit onto our shortlist. So we are discounting players, really, who didn't play most of their career in a front three in the Premier League. So
who are you? You.
Us, yeah. David Silva,
you.
Kevin De Bruyne.
Attacking midfield players are not in it, yeah.
Giggs, Lampard, Steven Gerrard.
Yeah.
And we're not saying this is exclusively about the best goal scorers either. So, again, there are some great goal scorers that are missing from this. Andy Cole, Robbie Fowler, Michael Owen, Ruud van Nistelrooy.
Yeah. Van Persie.
Van Persie hasn't made the shortlist, the long shortlist either. So give us an idea of what's in your head when you're thinking about the greatest Premier League forward.
Because Thierry was on and we've done a sort of football career before, we've done his managerial stuff last season as well, we just thought of something we could do different. And I was thinking about the impact of players have had in the Premier League, and there are certain players who've missed out on that, but then when I sort of finalised that list, the other ones we were talking about, the players you've just mentioned, we thought, are they really going to be in the top sort of 3 or 4? We probably thought not. So there's lots of different variety there. There's great goal scorers. There's number 10s there. You've got, obviously, Bergkamp and Eric Cantona as well. So there's a little bit of mixture of everything, and wide forwards, which is something we see a lot more in the game now.
So this being Monday Night Football, this is not just opinion-based, Jamie's opinion or your opinion at home, because you've had the chance to vote as well today, and I can tell you that almost 50,000 people have done that, so thank you very much for getting involved. We've added some stats to this element as well. We created our own scoring system here based on what players have contributed as individuals and with the team as well. But only, and this is the key thing, only in the period that you have been playing in the Premier League. So Cristiano Ronaldo, for example, a multiple Ballon d'Or winner, but not while he was in the Premier League. So there's our scoring system. And the other thing we should be pointing out is this is not across their entire Premier League career. We're talking about their best 3 seasons, with exception, of course, to the bonus points of the awarded for longevity, 200+ and 100+ goals. So why just 3 seasons?
Well, basically, you could look at certain players who played the whole career here. The first one that comes to mind is probably Alan Shearer, so their numbers in terms of goals would be a lot more than, say, somebody who was here for 4 seasons but had, say, 4 great seasons. So it was almost to take away the longevity, even though the longevity should play a part in someone's career. If we just sort of look at, you know, the 3 best seasons that someone have been here. Now, someone might argue about certain players maybe had 2 great seasons, so they maybe haven't quite made the list. But you think 3 seasons is a sort of good period of time, and it gives everyone an opportunity of being top of the list, even if they didn't play the full career here.
Do you think that's fair, Thierry, assessing players over 3 years, 3 years peak?
You have to draw the line somewhere if you want to have this type of you know, ranking, because, as you said, it would have been too difficult. Some people played 15, some people played, you know, it's difficult to judge the length of time.
And that's why we have to, you know, one of the players I don't think we mentioned before not being on this, Erling Haaland. He hasn't been here for 3 years. He's only been here 2.5 years. So that's why he never made the list.
Yeah, quite right to mention that. Right. So apologies for the absentees. Right, so there's our scoring system. You've seen that, and we're going to throw that into the Monday Night Football computer and see what it spits out. And this is the first part of our grading. This is not the end result, remember. This is the first part of our grading based purely on our criteria and data that we've put in. As you can see, it has thrown up Cristiano Ronaldo as the greatest Premier League forward with 28 M&F points. Thierry second on 27, and that top 5 made up with Alan Shearer, Mo Salah and Wayne Rooney. But let's give you a little example of how those points play out. So, all right, let's take Didier Drogba as our sample. He got 16 points. His peak seasons, we decided, were 2009 to 12. I think that was primarily based on what he'd won with Chelsea in that time, hadn't it? And interestingly, he got the point for the Golden Boot. He had a 20-plus goal season, a point for that. 10 assists twice. 10-plus assists twice. And a cup final winner. 2 points for that as well. The 2 Premier League titles, the Champions League, 2 other trophies, and 100-plus Premier League goals. You liked the winners particularly, didn't you, Jamie, when we come to talk about Didier Drogba?
Yeah, listen, we've got our criteria, we get that. But for me, when I look at some of these best players and when I've put mine in order, winning trophies is pretty high up on sort of, you know, where my players are ranked.
Suarez, Kane, Bergkamp, Eden Hazard, all at the bottom of this list right now. So now we'll get this debate started because Jamie's going to give us his own rankings. So we've asked him to come up with his top 10. His 10th player will get 1 point and his top player will get 10 points. That sounds simple enough? Right. So time to reveal then. Jamie, let's start with the number 10 on the Jamie Carragher hot list is... No. Gareth Bale. Gareth Bale.
Gareth Bale was on there because I think he got PFA Player of the Year twice. And I think to do that for a team who was only competing for Champions League positions is pretty special. When you think of some of the players who were in the Premier League playing for the teams going for the title at that time. The reason he's not higher up the list again is the fact that I don't think he won a trophy at Tottenham. And for me, being the man or the player who takes a team to a trophy is something I can never get out of my mind, really. But, you know, Tottenham were not the worst team. So if you're 4th in the Premier League, the fact they maybe never got into an FA Cup, won an FA Cup for them or something like that. If he'd have done something like that for Tottenham, who don't notoriously win trophies, he'd have been, you know, a few places higher up.
Would he obviously played in that shirt, Thierry? Would you have quite liked him to play in a red and white shirt?
No, I'm joking. I mean, obviously, I don't like to see that shirt there. But, look, you have to give him his credit. And as you said, winning twice Player of the Year in a short amount of time, if you think about it, playing for a team that wasn't supposed to battle at that level. I'm not having a go, and I know people will find that I'm having a go.
But at his best, devastating. Yeah,
when he had the ball at his feet. I mean, when you know, put the second gear, the third gear, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth. I don't know how many gears he had. It was just unstoppable. I remember the game, was it in Milan in the Champions League? It was just astonishing. It was, and he went on to be special even more after that. Yeah, special player.
Number 9 on Jamie's list, also from North London.
Hey!
Now we're talking, Thierry. Tell us about Dennis Bergkamp.
No, it's tough for me to see Dennis there because it's you know, I have my Arsenal hat on, and for me it changed the mood of the camp. I'm not saying that Arsenal were not successful before Dennis Bergkamp, and we all know what happened with the Joel Graham and Ian Wright and Kevin Campbell. You know, obviously, bless him. You know, you kind of thinking that this is the guy at one point with the likes of Patrick Vieira. They arrived a bit before, where people were like, "Hang on a minute, we can win again." And with the way he was doing it, and obviously with the understanding that I had with him, it was just like we could find each other without even looking at each other.
Thierry, I know you don't get totally involved in, you know, placing players because you know Dennis Bergkamp so much. Would he be, if you were really doing this, would he be a lot higher for you?
Yeah, but then I would have been lying because I cannot be objective when I talk about Dennis Bergkamp because for me, this is the guy that set the tone for me when I arrived at Arsenal. Because when I used to arrive at 8 in the dressing room, the guy is at 7:30. He arrived at 7:30. He arrived at 7:29. Then, you know, I'm coming to it. He's there to it before me. You know, I'm taking free kicks. He finished taking free kicks. You know, I'm like, he's a guy for real. You know, so I always have the utmost respect for guys like that because He showed me the way, and he also, by the way, you're not taking the keys off the hand of a guy like that. You have to make sure that you grab the keys and you do better than what he did, which was virtually almost impossible when I first arrived. But because he was the way he was, he showed me the path. So it's very difficult for me to not put Dennis Bergkamp higher. But hey, this is not my list.
OK, so in at number 8 goes another player who played his trade in London, and that was Eden Hazard, another player that you know really well, Thierry. So what is it that gets him, Jamie, above Bergkamp and Bale?
When Bergkamp came in mid-90s, but I think when Arsenal got back to being a team competing for titles. So 97, 98, Dennis Bergkamp is the best player in the league, and Arsenal win the double. And then Arsenal have a few years, and then Thierry comes and a new team is formed. But for me, Eden Hazard, I think, won Player of the Year twice and took Chelsea to the title twice. And I think for a 2 or 3 year period there, he was the best player in the Premier League. And the reason I would put him above Bergkamp is the fact that I think he was the main man in that team. I think Bergkamp was for a season, but then I think this guy came along when he started winning trophies again in 2002. So I think he was the best player in the team, winning the title for longer than Bergkamp was the best player in his team.
We were talking about Eden Hazard in the office earlier, and Thierry, you said, let me get this right, this is a player who can do everything or anything.
For me, you have players that gets the ball in certain situations and they will execute what they need to execute. This guy was bailing you out from anywhere, in any situation, in any position. The amount of solo goals that he scored, I mean, left foot, right foot, anything, taking contact, swiveling on people. It's a different ball game for me, because you have the guy that stays in the position and wait for the ball and execute. I repeat myself. You have the guy that goes in midfield and goes everywhere and say, you guys have a problem? Just give me the ball and I'll bring it up. It's a different ball game for me, and this is the type of guy that I will pay to watch, personally.
You know him really well. Can you give us an insight into his mentality of maybe why it didn't quite happen for him at Real Madrid? I mean, we're just talking about him as a Premier League player. That's what we're judging. But is there something in his makeup? Was it Real Madrid? Was he just unlucky?
No, Eden is a lover of the game, and he will play because of the love of the game. He doesn't want any aggro, he doesn't want any trouble. He just want to go on the field and play, and then enjoy his family, and then enjoy his holiday, and then let me go on the field and play. And if I'm not good enough, then bye-bye, I'm going to go. And that's what he did. But for me, and especially I worked with him, what he could do sometimes in some situations. Wow. Sometimes with the national team, and the boss had some great tactics and everything. I cannot say that Roberto Martinez when we were Belgium. But the amount of time you just gave the ball to Eden, and then he sorted it out. It's just frightening. I
actually think, again, it's not to do with the Premier League. I think when you finish third in the World Cup, I actually think he was the best player in the World Cup tournament.
I thought so also.
Yeah, I thought he was the best player.
All right, let's see who's next on your countdown,
Jamie. I can't
Jamie.
remember who it is, actually.
Oh. It's the greatest goal scorer the Premier League has ever seen. He's number 7, and he gets 4 points on your list. Why have you got him so low?
I think probably the reason being is I hold quite a high stock with the trophy situation. Now, I know he won the Premier League, and listen, he was one of the faces of the original Premier League. At the start of the Premier League, you think of Alan Shearer. But I just think of him making that move to Newcastle. So Newcastle are a top team, the world's record transfer fee. He does his job at Newcastle. I think he ends up being Player of the Year maybe 2-3 times in his career, which is pretty sensational. But I just think, I'm not saying they had to win a league, but even an FA Cup or a UEFA Cup or something, be the man who scores the goal in the big cup final. I know they had a couple of FA Cup finals with Newcastle, but they didn't win them. That's just the little thing when I think of other players who have picked ahead of him. It's because they've won a lot of trophies and maybe won big games themselves, and that's the only thing that probably lets it down.
We've got him in a Newcastle shirt here. The 3 years they actually took for the MNF grading was the 3 first years at Blackburn, when he got 30 plus every single season and took them to a Premier League title. That is pretty extraordinary achievement. Thierry, would you say?
look, that's a raw finisher. This is like, I didn't have that in my locker, so the admiration is crazy, because he's the type of guy that will make any cross, even the bad one low in your feet, he will go and get. Like sometimes when wingers make the striker better, but I have to say that sometimes he made the cross of the winger like a good cross when he had no right to score from those positions. And you know, you have to give him his respect. But once again, it's Jamie's list.
Little hot
I'm going to have the
potato.
Toon Army on my case as well.
Take your list.
The Toon Army and the Blackburn Army
Yeah.
as well. All right, let's have a look next. Popular pick, I think, for a lot of people. We were talking about this earlier. Wayne Rooney at number 6. Thierry, I'm going to come to you first on Wayne Rooney. What was Wayne Rooney at his best?
First of all, I played against him, and obviously that goal against when we lost against Everton. And I always remember at the end of the game, when I said, well done. When I touched him, I was like, why are you so, like, he was so strong. I'm like, how old are you? Like, I'm 16. I'm like, whoa. Wow. Look, he could do anything. This is one of the discussion that we have sometimes with Jamie when I'm with him. I'm like, who could play in the 4 positions? This guy could. He could play on the right, give you a hand. He could play on the left. He could play behind the striker. He could play as a early doors. It was devastating when he was playing as a 9. So, you know, when you're a coach and you have a player like him, he can give you a lot. And obviously the goals, the tenacity, the everything. You know, the grit. You know, the.
Did you want to get him
everything.
a little bit higher on your list?
No, listen, I'll put him in, you know, I know Wayne well, but I think he's sometimes a little bit, I wouldn't say forgotten's the right word, but I think sometimes we forget, because sometimes maybe a lot of it came when he was so young and we're expecting him to be the best player in the world or something, that it's like, oh, we thought he was actually going to do a little bit more than what he did. I actually think he was at his best as a centre-forward, me. You think of all the positions that he played, there was always this talk that he was a number 10. I actually thought he was at his best right up front, right up against centre-backs. And as Thierry said, that he could do everything. So the reason you'd look at someone like maybe Alan Shearer's got probably a better goal record than him, but you think about, like, the trophies that he won in the big games. He scored in the Champions League final. I think they lost that one to Barcelona. But, you know, he's played in 3 or 4 Champions League finals, won all the biggest trophies, scored lots of goals. Manchester United's record goal scorer. So, you know, for me, he did it for so long. I know we're looking at a 3-year period, but that wasn't automatically all the criteria for me. I'm looking at all these players across the whole career, really. And I just think Wayne, to be sort of top goal scorer for a club of that stature and the trophies he won, had to go there.
But Didier Drogba goes into your top 5. Why ahead of Wayne Rooney and Alan Shearer?
Well, if you actually look at Didier Drogba's goal-scoring record, it can't go anywhere near Shearer's. But when I think of him and picture Drogba, I picture him in the biggest moments, decisive moments, winning his team trophies. He scored 6 decisive and winning goals in cup finals, including a Champions League final with the winning penalty. I mean, that for me is almost the most important thing, because people can tell me how many goals someone scored, but what does goals do? It wins your games. What do winning games do? Win your trophies. You've got to take your team to the trophy. That's what he did. That's what Wayne did, but no one did it better than Didier Drogba, for me, in terms of the biggest moments and delivering.
Look, because of the way he used to play and because of the way he was, you have 2 players that I would have loved to play with in the Premier League. 2, him and Anelka. I would have loved to play with Anelka up front and him, because I think both of us up front, big problem. But, you know, what I'm trying...
I'm sweating listening to this.
No. But I saw him the other day and we were actually talking about it. We sat down at the airport and I went, can you believe if we played both of us together? Because he didn't like too much to go out of that area. I was more of a mover, a bit everywhere, and it would have been a bit of a problem. And let's not forget, and I know he's not in the list and everything, but Anelka was a problem also. I would have loved to play with Nicholas.
Another thing I just want to mention him, because I want to mention on a couple of other players, and it was probably something I think I mentioned with Dennis Bergkamp. being the first guy who takes you to something special. Now, it wasn't just him. There was Terry, there was Lampard. But they started this Chelsea generation of being successful. I think it's easy when you come late and that team have already got that sort of mentality of being winners and expect to win. They didn't have that before he came in.
I suppose there is a similar argument about your choice at number 4, who is Eric Cantona.
You know, Cantona, right? For me, he was the biggest.
Nice.
He was the biggest star of the Premier League. You probably think of Shearer, Alan Shearer, and Eric Cantona at the start of the Premier League. And I think whenever we have these debates or talk about players, I'm baffled when people don't mention him, because he was the best player in the Premier League. He was the biggest name. He was the most talked about player. And again, what I said earlier about Drogba. This guy more than anybody. So let's not remember, Manchester United have gone 26 years, I think, without winning a title. He joins and they win 4 of the next 5 titles. And the one they don't win is the one where he has obviously his incident at Crystal Palace. If he's involved in that season, they probably win the league. But on the back of that season, he comes back the next season. He wins the double. He scores the winner in the FA Cup final. And I think towards the end of that season, he scored a lot of sort of winning goals in 1-0 victories for Manchester United. So, for me, it's not quite an out-and-out striker, so hasn't got the goal-scoring numbers of certain players, but the impact he had on his team, and not just to win things. Think of what he did for the Class of '92. Think of what he did for Man United, becoming this sort of, almost a team of the Premier League in some ways. If you think of the Premier League, anyone around the world, they think of Manchester United, and that is down to him.
Frenchman making it in the Premier League and having such a huge impact. But what impact did he have on your conscience at the time?
Him, a tiny bit Ginola after, made us realize that it was possible to play in the Prem. And so, forget about what he has achieved. And I know people will tell me, do not forget about it, it's big. Some people would have an impact on you. It's not so much what they achieved, it's what they were. And how powerful they were, and I had the opportunity to meet him, and I thank him because he made it possible for us looking at the Premier League and going like, I want some of that. I want that. I want that recognition. And for me, which was always what I liked about Cantona is that I won't say we this time. No, I won't say we. In France, a lot of people disliked him for what you guys loved him for. Color up, attitude, demeanor.
I thought you were all like that.
No. But you know what I mean? Like, it's just... I thank him, basically. This is what I said. When I saw him, I said, I just wanted to thank you because you made it possible for us to believe that it's possible to achieve something abroad. You know, you had the guys that went in Italy at that moment, you know, the likes of De Sailly, and I'm not going to name everybody, Deschamps, Zidane. But he made it possible for us to see a path in England. So thank you.
I mean, did he respond to you when you said that? Thank you.
Yeah, he did. He did. To be fair, he said, "Oh, thank you. That's very nice," and it stayed there. But it was kind of a nice moment. You know, sometimes you meet people, you don't have the time to just tell them a thank you, and it was a real one because what he did it for everybody in France. So thank you.
All right, into the top 3 then, Jamie. Getting to crunch time. And Cristiano Ronaldo is your number 3. He was number 1 on the M&F points rankings. This, remember, is purely based on his Premier League output. So tell us why he's at number 3 on your list.
Listen, he was amazing in the Premier League. He won everything you could possibly think of winning. Arguably one of the greatest Premier League teams or front threes we've ever seen. Ballon d'Or winner.
I think the only one in our...
The only one here who won the Ballon d'Or in that time. And the big debate I had right throughout this day, I mean, I'll all the picks I've had all right throughout this list that we've gone through, I'm absolutely fine with. Him and the guy I've picked second, I was tossing and turning all day, thinking about it and where we'd go to. But... yeah, people may think he should be higher, but as I said, we're not counting the Real Madrid stuff and stuff like that. But what I would say is, it's that, well, I've got to reveal who's number 2 then if I'm starting to... Listen, number 2, the big debate for me was Ronaldo or Salah in that position. Now, I think Mo Salah's record in the Premier League is better than Cristiano Ronaldo's. But what you've got to factor in is Cristiano Ronaldo came as a very young boy. You know, he was an 18-year-old kid, so he almost took 2 or 3, maybe a little bit more than that years before he started getting his 40 goals a season. Mo Salah gets 40-odd goals in his first season, but he's more mature, he's had bigger experience, so you've got to factor that in. Ronaldo probably got to the level in terms of Ballon d'Or. Mo Salah didn't get there. But something that I mentioned with Cantona, especially Cantona, is that Ronaldo winning the league at United at the time, even though Arsenal and Chelsea were doing well, Man United were a team you think win the league. That's what they're supposed to do. Mo Salah joined the Liverpool, who hadn't won the league for 30 years. So a little bit like Cantona, where they've gone so long. So the fact that Mo Salah was part of that team that took Liverpool to the first title in 30 years, I think just edged it. Now, his goal scoring and assist record is a lot better than Cristiano Ronaldo's in the Premier League. But again, you factor in Ronaldo was a younger player. So the fact that Liverpool didn't have a history of winning Premier Leagues before Mo Salah came, and Manchester United did with Cristiano Ronaldo, means I just went for Mo Salah.
Before you reveal your surprise winner, Thierry, when you watched Cristiano Ronaldo, I don't know how much you would have watched of him because you were so focused on what you were doing, but did you see someone who was go on to be the superstar that he did become?
Yeah, it was easy to see even at the youth level. I saw him play against France in I think it was on the 21 or on the 19. I think it was on the 19 or something like that. Earlier than that, I think it was on the 18. Someone else, Quaresma was on the right, or he was on the left or something like that, and people were talking a bit more about Quaresma than him. But what I will give him a lot of credit, besides, you know, the quality and everything, the work ethic and the way he leaves the game. He's still playing, he's still running, he's still making a difference. It's still, you look at his body, it's better than when he was younger. Usually at the end of your career, you look at a player and you're like, okay, well, I think you should stop because your body's not the same. His body's better than when he was younger. The amount of work that he does, I remember Luisa saying to me, this guy is going to be the best in the world when he was playing for Man United. And I went, really? He went, his work ethic is second to none. I'm like, well, listen, if he has talent, work ethic, and he has skills, you know, the sky is the limit, and he did prove it.
Maybe we could say something similar about Mo Salah in terms of that application, that absolute desire to be the pinnacle of his career for so long, and still going stronger than ever.
It's for me, I can't make it at Chelsea. I go to Fiorentina, I go to Roma, I come back, okay, now I'm ready, I'll show you that now I can make it in this league. You know, people didn't believe in me before, I can make it in this league. He went from, you know, thinking a lot about scoring goals, and he still does, by the way, to, okay, now, can I see before? Can I assist early? Can I do something different? And that's a sign of a guy that's very intelligent. He uses his brain when he plays, and like I said to you, the way he left the Premier League and the way he came back into the Premier League is just astonishing.
And bang, made an impact from the very second he stepped through the doors at Anfield, didn't he? Right, Jamie, let's end the suspense. Who is your number one? Oh,
yeah.
It is the man himself, Thierry Henry. All right, tell us why.
Listen, I think it's universally thought that you are the best player to play in the Premier League. It's not just, you know, you're here or the criteria or anything like that. I think most people would look at your time, and I just think of, actually, I played against a few of these players, and, you know, Cristiano Ronaldo, what he went on to do, I played against Drogba, Wayne Rooney, a little bit Shearer at the end, but I played against 2 or 3 of those players, and in the main, you had good games against them, or they had good games against you, but it was a battle. Thierry is the one player on that list who made me feel completely inferior, that I couldn't cope really going into the games. I'd never felt like that before about coming up against a player.
Because the physicality, because of the skill, what was it?
All of it. Because certain players you think, oh, I can do that, I can do, you know, pace, physicality, skill. There wasn't any area I thought there was a sort of weakness where there was a bit of a chink in the armour, you could maybe get the better of them or something like that. And you look at the Arsenal teams, I still say, even though that Arsenal team didn't win the Champions League, that is still the best team I ever played against from 2002 to 2004. Arsenal probably threw the league away, I think, in 2003 as well. The best team in the league for 3 seasons. Invincible season as well. And I think, Thierry, when you talk about, I know you might not want to get involved, you're trying to not make eye contact with me here.
Yeah, that's what.
But when I think about players, and we've got goal scorers on there, but when you've got players, he scored over 20 Premier League goals in the season and over 20 Premier League assists as well. That is like an all-round footballer. That's somebody who wants to score goals, that's somebody who's unselfish as well. So I think that all-round ability makes you number one.
We'll show you in a minute what that does to the bigger picture in terms of our calculations. We just want to show you this graphic in the meantime as well. The best minutes per goal, because the three players that you left off the shortlist, Jamie, were Sergio Aguero, Harry Kane, and Luis Suarez, who all feature very highly in there, as should I point out, does Thierry. Any regrets when you look at that?
No, listen, I always say about Luis Suarez, there was one season where he, possibly you could argue, was one of the greatest seasons any player's we've ever seen, really, in the Premier League. But he didn't, if he'd have took Liverpool to that title, probably, I'm sure he's on the list. Harry Kane just probably misses out through, again, a lack of trophies. But then you say, well, how does Aguero miss out? You know, when the fact that Sergio Aguero won how many league titles? Yeah, I mean, how does Aguero miss out?
How does Aguero miss out?
All the best.
the one, I tell you what it was with Aguero.
You need to do a best goal scorer.
I don't think he was ever the best player in the league. I think most of the players I chose, won PFA Player of the Year. I think that was the one reason why I didn't do Aguero. I hope I've got that right, but I don't think he was ever... He was always one of the best 4 or 5 players in the league, but I don't think he was ever PFA Player of the Year. And he didn't actually get in the PFA Team of the Year too often.
I thought you also might use this to justify your Alan Shearer ranking as well, because he actually features quite lowly in terms of the minutes per goal, despite the incredible volume of goals.
Yeah, but a lot of that comes through the longevity, which in some ways helps him get 260 goals. But as he's getting older, he's not the same player. He's also playing for a Newcastle team towards the end of his career. That isn't a great team, really.
All right, so let's add up Jamie's rankings and the points that have been allocated with the Monday Night Football data and see what this table does. Again, this is not the final outcome, but Thierry has now taken the lead, 1 point ahead of Cristiano Ronaldo. Then our top 5 of Salah, Shearer and Wayne Rooney. So it looks like it's a bit of a fight out between those top 5. And we will now take the public vote.
Oh.
Remember, 50,000 almost voting for this.
Wow.
And the votage percentages see Thierry Henry, 31% of the public vote. Alan Shearer, 18%. Mo Salah at 14%. And then it's Rooney and Ronaldo.
I'll tell you what that is, right?
I'm wondering if it's a split in the vote. Do you think that's the case?
No, there's recency bias. Because I'm telling you...
For Alan Shearer?
This is what I'm talking about. How can Cantona be on that?
But maybe there's Manchester United fans that are voting against each other here as well.
Maybe. Yeah, that's a good point.
Because there is a split vote. Anything surprise us here? Well, not a single vote for Gareth Bale. He didn't make the percentage. He did get some votes.
Leave me out of that one.
OK, so, right. So, 10 points for Thierry because he's out in front, and 1 point for Eric Cantona. That is our top 10. So, you've heard the debate. You've seen all the calculations. This is the most suspenseful moment in the history of Monday Night Football. Who will be crowned the greatest ever Premier League forward?
Wow.
Ooh.
Surprise, surprise. It is Thierry. Well done, Thierry.
Thank you.
Well done for both of us. 27 M&F points, 10 from Jamie, 10 from the public. Gives us a 5-point advantage over Ronaldo. Salah, Shearer, Wayne Rooney making up that top 5. It's not a bad list, is it? However you actually managed to rank them. It feels like we've got that just about right. Thierry, would you like to make a speech?
Thank you. No, joking aside. I mean, those are the type of stuff that you dream of, really. When you see the players on the list, and like I always said, if you don't play for Arsenal and you don't play with the players that I played for, and then yes, we can talk about me playing and all of that. But look, for me, when you're part of that list, you're already a winner, really. It's just after what you like, what the public like, or whatever. Some people might not like me. Some people will prefer Ronaldo, and I get that, because when it's a matter of opinion, I can understand that. But they give me that one, I take it.
I know it's not your favourite subject, talking about yourself. I mean, we know that well enough. But if you think about your Premier League career, how proud are you of what you achieved at Arsenal? Yes, with the team, but also the entertainment that you provided for so many people.
No, there was a turning point in my career, and believe it or not, people always thought that my career was just an easy one, and it wasn't. I always had to prove to everybody that I could. So I will take after the World Cup, I went back 2 years with the under-21, and I always went to play. I never didn't show, and we played the games against Ukraine, and we won, I think, 4-0, and I gave four assists, and David Trezeguet scored 3 or 4 goals. And before, when you used to play under-21, you used to play the same team as the A team for the national team. Someone got injured. Who did they call? They called David Trezeguet, not me. And I said, okay, well, so you don't see my assist, so I need to score an assist. So that's why my mind did change, because when you play as a winger for a very long time, you go up and down, and you give a ball to the striker, and he grabs the glory. And I was like, okay, if I ever go back as a 9, let's not forget about assisting. Let's not forget about moving and trying to make people play, and not be only the striker that's going to stay in the box and not move for others. And so one thing that's very important for me, and I always talk about my assists, and always people talk about my goals, and I always talk about my assists, because for me it's very important, because at one point people started to say strikers can do different things. It's always valuable when you did change the position. I value that a lot, when people will do mention that, and you can have an argument. When I was young, I didn't have any argument apart from saying R9 or George Weah, because they were stepping out of the box, taking the ball and going on the wing and dribbling. So I could say to my coach, you're a liar. You don't have to stay in between the post or in the box to score goals. That was more me. But if you don't show that you can do both, then obviously it's becoming difficult. But if you have an impact on changing the position, it's always a good thing.
Just looking on these, listen, they're all remarkable achievements. What are the sort of 1 or 2 on that list that make you most proud?
I said to you, I just, this one for me, I said to you, I will always go with assists, and what you could do for others, because football is about sharing. Because I'm sure you remember the amount of time I gave penalty to Lauren, I gave penalty to Robert Pires. If I was that much of a killer, I wouldn't have given those penalties. I wouldn't have sit the goalkeeper down and give it to someone else if I wanted to score more goals. But I do think at one point I wanted to show, because I felt that pain when I wasn't called in the national team as a winger. I was like, hang on a minute, I give 4 assists and you don't call me, you call the guy that scored. Okay, so don't be upset with the guy that scored. Do both. Do you understand what I mean? And so this is what happened. And for me, is the sharing factor that did matter. And if you look at my career, it's so funny. When you see the goals, my goals, you saw rage. You rarely saw smiling. Look at my assist. I smile. Just look at it. I smile. Goals, I never did. It was just like, I'm supposed to do that.
Do you prefer the assist? Would
yes.
you rather?
I did say that so many times, and people think I'm trying to be humble. I prefer an assist than a goal. Yes. No goal scorer will tell you that.
Well, you made us smile tonight, Thierry. Thank you very much. It's been fascinating listening to you talk about your own career, which, as I said, I know is not your strong point, but also great to hear you talking about all those other fantastic strikers. It was an extraordinary list in the end. So well done, Jamie, in putting that, helping to put that together with the team.
I'm not going to look at my phone.
I was going to say, if you at home have any complaints, you know where to find him on social media.
That's
so
his list.
There he is.
I count 23.